Walaikum salam. How are you? Lovely house you have, huh?
Great. This is just my background, but
Oh,
you
I
can
thought you
see
actually lived there.
it's a lovely background. Uh,
Okay.
how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you keeping? How's
I
Karachi?
am good. I am good. We're so lucky to have you here today,
No,
and
thank you. It's an honor to be here.
very grateful to have you here because we were looking for somebody young and dynamic and somebody who is all with new things and has this relentless energy and the one person that was actually popping up on everybody's minds was you. So हमने कहा हम आपका फायदा तो जरूर उठाना चाहिए because you are doing so much and you have so much positivity to offer.
Thank you. I
And
hope I don't disappoint. That's the thing. You're very
I'm
kind.
very sure this will be very informative for us, interesting for us, and I'm really looking forward to interviewing you.
No,
So
absolutely. As I said, I think when we were communicating earlier, thank you for this opportunity. And it's an absolute pleasure to be here. And it's an absolute honor as well. Thank you for thinking about me and giving me this opportunity.
thank you, Ji. So I have done your little intro already, which I've recorded, but I'm just going to do the intro again. So we have
Okay.
the opportunity of having Mr. Farid Jaffer with us today. He is the dynamic young face of Pakistan, leading one of the most multi-dimensional operations in Pakistan. He's the CEO of Jaffer Brothers, and I think he's CEO of many other organizations. But right now, we are interviewing him as a leader, as a young leader with a lot of energy and a vision. And we are here to share his story. He has done his bachelor's from Swarthmore College in USA, from Pennsylvania. But we don't know a lot about him. And that's why we have him here to understand a lot about him. So Farid, we'll just give the mic to you. And we would like to know your leadership story before we start anything, because I'm sure it's going to be very insightful for us.
Thank you. Yes, excellent. So thank you for the introduction. Let me just give some more intro from my own words as well. I'm Farid Jaffer. I'm the CEO of Jaffer Brothers Private Limited. It's a company which is a part of the Jaffer group of companies. Our group was established in India back in the day in 1849. And with the call of the Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah, the businessman and my family decided to migrate to Karachi in 1947. And in 1948, July 2nd, Jaffer Brothers Private Limited was established in Karachi. So this is our 73rd year of existence in Pakistan. We're very proud to be here. And if you look at our company, you could, I think, broadly divide it into three verticals. It's a very diversified group. So I'll try to keep this short. The first sector we're very active in is the agriculture sector. We have a company called Jaffer Agro Services, which specializes in giving different products, different technologies, and helping the farmers increase their yield, the productivity of the crops that they grow, so that they could give back to the consumers, and overall the country prospers from that. The second vertical we have is information communication technology, ICT. In this, we have a company called Jaffer Business Systems. It's one of the oldest IT companies in Pakistan. And Jaffer Business Systems also has a wide variety of products, from hardware to software, different solutions, and the offerings to its customers. The strategy that it's right now trying to adopt is because technology, as everyone knows, is a very rapidly changing sector. So we're looking at new startups, new ideas, and we've started acquiring such startups to help them also grow and prosper. Such examples that I can name right now is one in the big data analytics sector. We acquired a company called Blue Tech Consulting about 2 years ago. It's mashallah doing very well, not only in Pakistan, but they've gone international as well, and they're working in Africa, Europe, as well as different countries in Asia. We've also developed our own personal finance app called Hisab Kitab, which helps you take account of your own household spendings as well, and it gives all the analytics of what sort of consumption you're doing, so it helps you in budgeting and everything. And last but not least is the third sector, the third vertical that we have is construction, engineering, and machinery, which I look after. This is handled by Jaffer Brothers Private Limited, as well as Murshid Builders. So as I said, we specialize in construction projects, physical constructions through overseas development assistance funding, as well as we represent world-renowned products from machinery manufacturers like Komatsu from Japan. We've been representing them for over 50 years now in Pakistan. Then we also have household hygiene products that we represent in our company. And last but not least, we are experts in trading as well, general trading. And that's where the company started in India in 1849. And to this date, this company also does that. Lots of tendering business and lots of products that we bring in and supply to the consumers in Pakistan.
Wow, I mean, this is amazing. This is a very, very illustrious background, and you play a very, very important role in the backbone of the country's economy also. So we are really grateful for you to be here and explain everything to us. So Farid, tell me something. As a young leader and looking at the economy right now and looking at our circumstances and looking at the adversity, what kind of leadership traits do you think were very, very important for you while you were dealing with all of these environmental situations in this near past? And I think right now also we are facing a lot of challenges. So in these challenges and adversity, what was your outlook as a leader, and what is something that can be of great advice for people like you who are handling numerous things, or young leaders who are aspiring to be somebody like you? What would you say?
Yes, I think, we've gone through some unexceptional like circumstance with Corona and the COVID situation. And it was a big adversity for, I think, a lot of people, many people around the world. But the way I was approaching this is, obviously adversity is a part of life. And you have to make sure that you know how to deal with it and have that positive thinking that adversities won't be there forever. And, good times will come back as well. So as the saying goes, this too shall pass. Adversities are there. It is challenging you, but take that as a challenge to make you stronger and come out on the other end as a better person as well. So as a leader, I think it was very important to communicate with our team as well, to make sure that everyone was feeling comfortable. We could observe that certain individuals were obviously being a little stressed out as well. So we had to make sure that we were with them, ensure that the comfort was provided and the clarity was there that what the organization is trying to do to overcome this adversity. And I just wanted to add here that, leadership, in my own opinion, begins with the individual. So you could be a CEO or you could be an office clerk. The office clerk could be married and they could have children as well. So they have a responsibility for their household. So they're a leader in their own. And even if you're not married and if you're single, there's a certain individual that you talk to every day, throughout the day. Who is that? That is yourself. So you have a responsibility for yourself, to guide yourself, to make sure that you're pulling through, you're mentally strong, and you know that it's possible to get through such situations and come out the other side and learn from it. That's very important. You have to learn from such situations so that when in the future you're confronted with a similar situation, you're like, yes, I know how to do or what to do. I could buckle down and get through this.
Very rightly pointed out. Farida, you mentioned something very important. You said communication and clarity. And you're absolutely right that in these circumstances, in adversity, communication really, really plays the role which can make it or break it. And you're absolutely right about this. So while you were communicating and you were being there and you said the leadership needs to be there, show clarity to them, be there with them, while you were doing all that, and you said, and another thing that you mentioned, and it's very, very close to us also, is that leadership doesn't come in with a position. Leadership is mindset that you're talking about. So did you find anything great that you saw within your teams, and you saw some leadership qualities coming up from your team members, which was something that was not, which must have been there, but since you were communicating a lot and you were able to pick that out, if you can share that with us also.
Yes, so just to answer your question as well, I think communication is important because it leads to connecting with people, and that leads to the trust between each other, inspiring trust, making sure that people know that what you're saying, you really mean it, and you follow up on it. As I said, this was a very difficult situation, but it was also a great opportunity to see certain team members display leadership traits that we probably didn't even know that they had. Certain individuals really stepped up. There was a lockdown going on, but they took ownership of the situation, took the responsibility, what they had to deliver. They went out of the market, met customers, and brought about results as well. And we made sure that those people were recognized in the organization, throughout the organization. And then also said that, there are heroes, there are true heroes because they are stepping out when things are not going their way. And then by making such examples, hopefully people could learn and then follow that as well.
So I'm really happy to learn this, that there were a couple of examples that were there, and I'm sure you're absolutely right. Trust has to do a lot with it. So communication combined with trust is something that gives you that kind of a platform where you can get those skills or those qualities which are hidden somewhere. Let those people discover them, and you also discover them. So with this, we move on to our next segment, which is more of like a hard talk, like of a segment.
Okay.
And there's some tough questions that we would like to ask you. And one of those questions is that, we all have biases, or and we all, and every person, every leader does make some mistakes based on our previous biases. Maybe it be cultural biases or maybe some other biases. So what were the 3 or 2 big mistakes that you think you made, which you think if you are in the same situation again, you would be looking at things in a different way?
Yes, so as you said, there's a lot of different leadership biases that could happen, and I think I'll share maybe 2 or 3. And the first one I'm going to share is related to what we were just discussing about the lockdown and COVID and the corona situation that we went to, is what's called the false casualty bias. Now, I think what happened in this situation was that the office is shut down. And I'm not necessarily talking about myself, but there's a lot of cultural perception that, productivity or company results happen with the time you spend at work. So they correlate this. Yeah. So that's a cultural thing. And, it's very interesting to share this, that we have, as I said, we have our IT company as well. And the IT CEO is very happy that this happened because he has been a big propagator of remote working. And he was saying, okay, it's important for people to come to the office, but the main thing is to make sure that they're productive. And if a person is productive from home or wherever they are, and they're delivering results, what's the issue? You don't need to have that person on his seat as long as he's delivering results. So I think that's one bias that a person could have, is they have to stay in the office. You have to work 9 to 6 or work till that leader leaves from the office. Unless and until they do that, they won't get the results. I think that's a perception that maybe needs to be tweaked or adjusted, because now we've come back to the regular working environment, what we used to say normal. Offices are open. And in our organization, at least, we have an approach that's a hybrid now. Certain key individuals are asked to come to the office to make sure that they're present. And those that can manage from outside and be productive, we've asked them that, okay, work remotely through Zoom or MS Teams and stay connected so that you could work forward and deliver the results. A couple of other biases.
One bias that was bursting. Great. Anything else that you think?
Yes, I think some other common biases are, for example, status quo bias. So status quo bias, I would say, is a person that's always happy with the past achievements, and they're always glorifying that achievement and not looking for the future or not looking for the changes that are required. Change is a constant, as you know. You have to always be ready for changes, otherwise you're going to be left behind. And such individuals who have this status quo bias are actually afraid of such changes. So I think that's why they have such biases. A third one that I've observed is self-enhancement biases, which is when you're a leader and you feel that you're above average, you're better than the others. So this comes with arrogance, overconfidence as well. But I think the most dangerous thing about this bias is there is a feeling that you already know everything, so that you don't need to improve your skills, you don't need to learn anything, you don't need to educate yourself again, which is very, very important for you to be, in touch with the ever-changing environment in front of you.
Yeah, it's like I used to be conceited, but now I'm perfect. Something like that.
Yes, you learn with experience.
Even if you try to nudge your bias, something from the subconscious comes and says this to you. You're absolutely correct about that. And it happens to a lot of leaders who are in that position, who've done that, been there. So they're confident that there's nothing more to learn. And I think that's where they start coming down here. That's that point. So another common bias, I think, हमारे मुल्क में वो काफी है, बाहर भी है, and that's bias regarding your female co-workers or जिसको हम glass ceiling भी कहते हैं, या हम कहते हैं कि a lot of when people say, oh yes, we do have a certain percentage that we're going to keep female, but all that percentage of female is maybe not managerial staff. So how do you look at it?
So I think, it's a very good point that you brought up as well. It's very important. Every individual is equal, whether you're a male, whether you're a female, what race you are. And we have tried to encourage, and we do have people in our organization, heading departments, they're ladies, and we try to empower them as well. And as you say, as I've experienced, everyone's wired differently. And through my marriage as well, I think I've been able to even further experience this, is that females and males are wired differently as well. So there's certain skill sets, certain ways that the way they think as well brings a lot of benefits in generating ideas and running an organization as well. And as I said, create an environment that's comfortable for females, I think is the key. And it's to make sure that the job environment is such that you support them again. And then if certain incidences happen, then the necessary actions are taken and you cut it in the bud so that such things do not happen in the future.
All right. So you mentioned that women are wired, like men are from Mars and women are from Venus, or the other way around. In your experience, have you been able to discover any great leadership vis-a-vis your female colleagues who have been working with you, or something that where you thought that you and somebody else, you guys made a great team because there's certain skill set that you have and there's certain skill set somebody else has, and maybe a team where there is a gender diversity was something which you felt maybe in retrospect that was a combination that would have not been happened or not have been there if there haven't been that kind of a diversity there.
Absolutely, yes. I totally agree to what you're saying. In our organization as well, certain, like for example, some businesses are headed by ladies, and for example, our HR department, that's the corporate services, is headed by a lady as well. And again, it's all about perspective, the angle, the ideas, certain things that maybe I would not even think about. Those I think have really benefited the organization to have a broader perspective of a particular situation, even the COVID situation, and how to address the employees in the company as well as outside as well.
All right, that's great. That's really heartening to hear that this is the kind of approach that you have. Another very hard question that we always ask people, and there's a lot of talk on that, and you did mention that if there is any incident like harassment as far as females are concerned, so is there a company policy, or is there the environment like this, or the culture? How have you been able to manage that issue? Because everywhere it does happen, even if people name the elephant in the room or not, but it's there.
Yes.
So I would be really interested to find out, how do you approach it, or what is your process? How do you make people
yes, there's
comfortable?
two angles to go about this with us. One is the culture, as you said. We try to propagate a culture that such incidences don't happen. But having said that, unfortunately, these things are part of life as well. And if it does happen, you have to have set policies. So we have a very clear policy in the company that's sexual harassment policy, power harassment policy. These harassment policies exists. It's available on the intranet. Anyone can access it. But again, this next step is, what happens if such a situation happens? We were talking about open communication, but the main thing is that individual that faces such a circumstance has to be comfortable enough to step up and talk to either the HR department or maybe even myself and confide in me so that the appropriate actions are taken. And the last and most important step I would say is, if something like that happens, you have to take action. And it's not, you cannot compromise on such things. If a certain individual does something that is totally going against the policy, as well as our core values of trusting and respecting each individual, then the necessary action will have to follow so that the example is set and such things do not repeat itself in the future.
That's good. That's very nice. And another tough question that was coming in my mind, because we're talking about biases. What happens is that, and a lot of time time, there is a dilemma that a leader faces. And the dilemma is between competence and the character of your team. And maybe somebody who's really, really competent, does the work well, knows it, has a great network, but there is some sort of an issue with the character of a person. But the numbers are going great, and there's no problem business-wise. But there's a problem character-wise. And when you're faced with such a dilemma, what do you choose? A lot of time people want to look the other way because the work is going on. What is your approach in this? And I'm sure you must have had certain experiences of this kind. So what do you do? Do you look the other way? Do you take it right head on? What do you do?
So in such a circumstance, yes, this is a very important point that you brought up as well. It is very important. Again, communication is the center again. You have to coach that person and you have to make sure that they're aware of their behavior, one. And then what is the overall picture? Are you looking at the short-term or the long-term benefit of the organization? And are you looking at the entire team or the individual? Because if there's a gentleman or a lady that's performing really well, setting records after records, but if their attitude or their mannerism is not that positive, then that's going to affect ultimately the team members as well. And in the long run, the numbers are probably going to be affected as well. So I would say it's always important. It's a difficult task maybe. You have to coach the person, not confront, but just make sure that they're aware of it so that, the small issue doesn't turn out to be a big one by just, throwing it underneath the carpet. And as we say, a lizard, when it's a lizard, you just address it. Otherwise, it could become into a dragon or a dinosaur. And it's much harder to address it at that point. With anything, you should address it immediately if possible. And that's what I would try to do as well.
So you have a lot of courage to be able to address them.
Yeah, so I think, that's one of the things that I think comes with experience as well. It's not easy, such tough discussions. But at the end of the day, I think gradually through my career, I've learned that you need to take such measures, take difficult steps so that, for the overall good and the long-term benefit of the organization, it's required.
Okay, so we now move on to our next section, which is not hard talk, but it's like a rapid fire. So I'm going to ask you, and whatever comes to your mind, you're not going to think, you're going to just tell me anything that comes to mind. So the top 2 leaders who really inspire you, they can be anybody you take inspiration from.
Okay, I think the first one, I'm very blessed because I have a very good mentor who I've been working for more than 10 years with, is our chairman, Mr. Jaffer. I bring him as my first pick because he displays leadership qualities. He has a very high emotional intelligence level, great communicator, and whatever we're talking about, the positives of leadership, he actually lives that. And as I said, I'm very fortunate that I'm able to, rub shoulders with him on a daily basis almost and learn from him as well. The second one I'll choose I would choose is, let's go on a different angle from an international scene. I would say Elon Musk. Now, this is a very different character, and I take inspiration from this gentleman because I personally feel he's one of the greatest innovators and inventors in our lifetime so far. And he hasn't done it only in one industry, he's done it in multiple industries. He's disrupted the industries and continues to do so. And he's been doing that for about 3 decades now, whether it be financial services, electrical vehicles, renewable energy. Now he's going to space technology, health. So, such vision, the vision that he has and the way he takes forward his desires and ideas is just truly amazing in my opinion.
That's amazing, actually. That's where your energy also comes in. So now I can understand, I can relate where your energy is coming from. That's great. Thank you for sharing that with us. So one top quality that you think a leader should and must have?
I would say there's a lot of, that's a very difficult one because choosing one is very difficult. I would say ownership of a circumstance, ownership of what they do, that links with, how they behave. So, yes.
So yes, ownership is something that is the first and foremost step. Very, very true. Thank you. So you are one mistake or one behavior which is unforgivable, no matter who you are, what you are, but that's not something that you will forgive.
Yeah, so it's one behavior, one thing, one quality that's not compromisable, in my opinion, is it's integrity and ethics. So, if you are compromising on your integrity or your ethics, then unfortunately that doesn't fly with me.
Okay, so as a leader, what has been your happiest moment ever? I'm not saying as a person, as Mr. Farid Jaffer, but as a leader, what do you think has been your happiest moment?
So I think this question, our organization, I'll just talk about our company a little bit again. When I studied in America, as you said, I came back and I joined the company, and I've been here for over a decade now as well. There was a lot of talk with my colleagues, as well as people around me, that business in Pakistan is very difficult. Business is very difficult because there's a lot of integrity issues involved. You have to, there's corruption involved. Business cannot be done without corruption, so on and so forth. Whereas our organization has a very strong ethics code, and it makes me very proud, and the achievements that we've done, the contacts we've done in this country are following that code. Everything is above the table, everything is crystal clear, and it gives me pride whenever we sign a contract in such a manner. And also further, it gives me pride when I interact with such people and I'm able to tell them that, there's a living example, our organization. I've lived through it as well. And we've been able to achieve such things that certain people thought that's not possible in Pakistan, whereas it is. And I think that helps to change the perspective of certain individuals as well, which is a happy moment for me.
So how have you been able to actually do that? Because that's very, very difficult. What was it that made you follow that or instill that in the organization?
So, actually, I would not take the whole credit by myself because it's my forefathers as well. So one thing that goes in our benefit is our organization is known to be very clean. So for example, if you step into a certain customer's office, they already have that perception. But I think how they manage to do that is that even if it's a big contract of how many $1 million, how many $1 billion, if that gets involved, you have to have the courage to say, no, I don't want to take this contract. And okay, in the short run, maybe you will suffer, maybe the results will suffer, but in the long run, the Almighty will look after you and things will come about. And that's what actually has happened with us as well. So, and then being transparent, being open with the customer so that you make sure that all the expectations are met and you go forward with that.
You're absolutely right. Reputation is not something that you make overnight or you make by saying something or what you're going to do. It's by what you do. And with the history and the legacy that you have and you represent, that's, I think, something very, very important and sacred to you and maybe the rest of the organization also. So you're absolutely right on that. So tell me something, like you said that you were in America and you came back 10 years ago here. Were you always looking forward to coming and being part of Jaffer Brothers, or was there another trajectory that you were following and then you came here? We don't know about that story. We know about you, about your organization, but what about you?
So I guess, yeah, everyone has their own story. And I must say, I'm very blessed. I'm very grateful that I have such a platform in Pakistan, in a country like Pakistan as well. This is a very vibrant and energetic country. This is growing. So growing up, obviously when I was very young, my father was the chairman of this organization. He was in the first generation in Pakistan. And, I would look up to him and I would always think that I want to be like my father. And unfortunately, I lost my father when I was very young. I was 9 when he suddenly passed away due to a heart attack. But even studying throughout my studies, going to America, going abroad, I always had that intention of coming back, working in Pakistan, giving back to the country. And another funny thing is, you may know this, that I am actually half Japanese as well. So the option of going to Japan, living there was obviously there, but that never really attracted me. I always thought that I should come back and work in this organization and take it forward with my, uncles and cousins. And that's what's happened. And I'm very blessed that I could be here today.
So with your rich cultural background with Japanese and Pakistani, so what edge does it bring to you as a leader?
Well, I think, not only Japanese, Pakistani, but being able to be exposed to other, by traveling to America, traveling to different countries, I think that's broadened my, understanding and vision of different cultures and different people. And just to highlight one thing from the Japanese culture, I think is discipline as well. So I try to be very disciplined with time and all that. So I think that's helping me as a leader as well.
So if you were not here, and like you said, that you always wanted to emulate what your great things that your dad was doing. But say if you were not in here in this position and you get an offer, like the genie comes and gives you this offer that you can be the leader of any other Pakistani organization because you love Pakistan so much and you want to give back to Pakistan, which industry organization would you like to head and change for the future generations of this country?
So I think, when you ask this question, the little boy inside of me comes out a little bit. And just to, change it, maybe it's not an industry or organization, but I would say I want to be leading or part of a team or be that individual in sports, any sports. It could be cricket, it could be football, it could be tennis, because I think that gives you the capability of representing the nation overseas in an international stage and leaving a mark as well. So I think that would be something that I would really,
I
love to
think
do because
that's really exciting also to be able to do that. It reminds me of one of the movies that India made on these sports heroes, because our sports heroes are not somebody who we actually look for or we glorify them. They're there till they're there, but then nothing happens to them. So yeah, that's a great idea to be there. So we come nearly to an end, and before we part ways, because you've taken a lot of your time, just one advice that you would like to give to the youth of this country, people who want to emulate you, who want to be in leadership positions, people who work hard, and any piece of advice for them?
Yes, I think, my one piece of advice would be that always be positive. And, even if you're in a situation, very difficult situation, remember that the sun always rises. There's always a tomorrow. And as I said in the very beginning, adversity means bad times and there's good times. So they're, 180 degrees different, but they're joined together as well. So always remember that if there's a bad time, a good time is going to come. But it's also equally important to remember that if there's a good time, don't get, so absorbed with the success, because adversity is always around the corner and you have to be ready for that as well. So live your life, make the most out of each minute, and, try to enhance your knowledge, enhance your education, enhance your skill set, so that you don't only improve yourself, but you also can influence or, make the lives of the people around you better as well by, helping them out as well.
That's a very, very great piece of advice that you have given us. You're absolutely right that adversity is always there. It really depends on how you deal with it. And of course, when you have good times, you always have to have this at the back of your mind that there might be something that might pull you down also. Very true. Thank you so much, Farid. It was lovely having this small little conversation with you. Very, very insightful. And I'm wishing you all the luck and best wishes for all what you're doing, and hope to see you again soon.
Thank you very much. It was an absolute pleasure. And I would just like to take this opportunity to extend my prayers to everyone that's been affected by the recent floods in Karachi, as well as the corona situation. And as I said earlier, we will get through this together, and hopefully we'll come out stronger, all of us.
Inshallah.
Inshallah, yes.
And I'm sure that we can do that. And I've seen a lot of resilience and a lot of things.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people helping people, and it's not looking for somebody else to come help them. So it's like how the community comes forward. And that's one of the, I think, big qualities that we have as a nation, that we are very resilient. And no matter what circumstances we are in, we're always ready to extend and help others. I think that's something, a trait that we all have. Thank you so much and wish you all the best.
Thank you. Thank you.